Okay, thank you everyone again for joining and waiting for everyone to join. There are more audience who are actually joining us in a while. So we'll kickstart this session in today's session, we are going to have a very good agenda. So first of all, we will be sharing you some of the offers which we are going to run only for 60 minutes. And in case any one of you is interested, you can avail. Second, we'll basically hear from one of our students. If he joins us in a while, then we will be hearing his success story, that how coming from a non-IT background, he could make himself into an IT world, and how he's going to start his journey, and how the journey went, for 4 to 5 months, and he could able to get the job. Now, and after that, once we complete his success story, we'll give him 10 minutes of time, and then we'll proceed with our agenda, which is on AWS versus cloud. We have to understand what is the real difference between AWS and Azure. Like a lot of people, they think that, AWS is something which is really booming up, but not Azure. And some people who are biased for Azure, they always think that Azure is booming up. So we have to understand that which cloud is actually performing good in the market, which has a better future. So we will look at it and we'll try to understand so that we can take our decision better. After that, we'll be discussing few more details about the same topic, and then we'll wind up our session. This is going to be our agenda of today's session. Okay, so let me just introduce the webinar offer. This is going to be valid only for 60 minutes, guys. Whosoever is interested, you guys can drop your interest in the Zoom chat or maybe on the WhatsApp group within this 60 minutes of time. And within the 60 minutes of time, you're going to get straight 50% off on all the AWS courses, on Microsoft Azure courses, and Scrum courses. So if you look at the actual price, which is $499, it's going to be $249. If it is $399, it's going to be $199. And if it is $599, it's going to be $299. So this offer is going to be valid only for next 60 minutes. If any one of you is interested and serious about any one of then you can let us know so that we can consider your registration in discounted price. After that, let me give you a brief description about us, that who are we, the people who are joining us very first time. So guys, we are from Thinkcloudly. The entire team which works for Thinkcloudly is working and making sure that the delivery of our session has very good quality, and all the sessions which we conduct are properly audited, so that if in case we find any problem with the session, we make sure that our instructor correct himself or herself, and also we make sure that we provide additional extra sessions if in case you need it for better clarity. So we will be providing you those sessions, extra sessions. So now when we talk about Thinkcloudly, Thinkcloudly is a single stop shop where you will find everything which you need to pass your interview. So you need trainings, resume assistance, link grooming, interview questions, like certification assistance. There are so many things which we do for our students in order to make sure that our students succeed. And we also do a lot of other activities in terms of providing solutions to many organizations. And we also help our students to be ready to get the job in the market. Whether you come from non-IT background or IT background, our aim is to make sure that you step into IT and you make money. So this is the only goal we have. And to be honest with you, there are so many students who have registered with us in past few years, and we have seen the results ourselves, that whether you come from a healthcare organization or whether you come from different industry, you will be able to get into IT, and we will be providing all the possible needs to you in order to make sure that you are successful. So this is what we do as a company, and we will always be here and will be happy to serve you. You have any doubt, anything you want to discuss with us, we will always welcome you, and we'll make sure that we we provide all the help which is best possible. So this is all about us. Now, moving to the next part of it. So I would like to congratulate our friend and our student, Buchi. Buchi signed up in the month of April, if I'm not wrong. And within last 3 or 4 months of time, he could able to manage and get a job in very good organization in US. So welcome, Buchi, and we would like to give you 10 minutes of our time, and you please share your journey with all our students, uh, so that we can hear what you went through, what you actually did to get this job, and I know that you're already getting a lot of offers now because you actually worked very hard. Please share your journey with every one of our students so that they also feel that this is not unreal, this is real. The people who come from non-IT, they can manage to get a job in IT. Only thing which I want to say before Puchi you start, guys, there's an offer again. People who have joined us, 50% offer only valid for this webinar, 60 minutes. If any one of you interested in Scrum, AWS or Azure, do let us know your interest in the chat or on WhatsApp so that we can register you on 50% discount, and it is valid only for 60 minutes of time. Thank you. Over to you, Gucci. Please share your journey with us and uh, and with all our students.
Hi guys, good morning for those in the US. Good afternoon for those in Africa, for those in India, good afternoon as well. My name is Buchi, and I came into Thinkcloudly. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So I came into Thinkcloudly out of the blues. I'm like non-IT background, though I have like engineering background and all of that. So I was working as an engineer, but time gets to me. I was tired of going in person to work every day, and as well as COVID hits, and the next thing I would do is just like, okay, everybody's working from home. But I was fortunate enough that I was not laid off, so I was still working, but now going into work every day while people were like in the house, relaxing, working from home. So I was just going through my phone on that fateful day, and I started knowing about, learning about IT. I had a couple of friends that, oh, Buchi, man, you need to get into this space and all of that. But I did not really see, who can really teach me or help me in that stage. Even sometimes I decide to like, I want to do it on my own. I watch YouTube and it's not entering. I watch Udemy, it still did not work for me. Reason it did not work because I did not really have the background or the understanding of how to do it. So, browsing through every other platform that I could, I was seeing this high price and all of that. I was like, no, 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 no. Or if I enter I'll register, get into their webinar, and the way they speak, or I just will not get interest, or they did not hit the points. So I was going through my phone one fateful day. Nobody introduced me to Thinkcloudly. I was going through my phone one fateful day, and I saw Thinkcloudly like pop out. It popped out, and the caption was just like this platform that we're looking right now. So I immediately I was connected to the caption. I was like, oh wow, Thinkcloudly. I was like, okay, let me give it a try. So I just registered the way I normally registered with every other person, and boom, I had the call, from Nama. The first time we spoke, like the connection was there. We started speaking as friends, as if we've known each other for like plenty years. So I was like, oh, I think I should give this a try. So I registered, he talked to me about it. I was like, okay, definitely I'll give it a try. Since I'm free, there are things I can do and all of that. So, then front and back, then he communicated with me like, oh, Buchi, what time would be the best time for you to, for you to join the class? Is it in the morning or in the afternoon? you see, at that point, I knew like, hey, I have to, because I've not had this opportunity for somebody to like be flexible with my time and, and put me into consideration. So yeah, all of a sudden, boom, I entered the class. I registered and I started the class. The first time, AWS. I've heard about AWS before, but actually I've not, I don't know the process or how it goes or how it works. So I started the class and, we're going from IAM to, the introduction part and everything. So I was following the class step by step. So along the line in the class, Nama said, once you guys, if you get to is it RDB, once you do your RDB, you should start applying for job. Immediately I was like, oh wow, RDB, then route 53, start applying for job. If you know that, start applying for job. I was like, okay, so I was just, with that, every day I go through the classes, I review it, and in my badge, I had a couple of my friends that would do it together. They call me like, hey, Buchi, can you help? And at first, when they say, can you help? I don't really know it well, but because I was able to follow the instruction and the videos, I was able to, help my friends as well. So after that Route 53, I just started creating a template resume and start applying. I was just applying even without completing the courses. I was applying, and behold, I was getting calls. But guess what? Once they call me, I was at first, the joy of me receiving a call from a recruiter was really good. They call you, do you know this? Do you know that? I was like, yes, 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 because I wanted to see the end of it or know the process. So just like that, I was doing it. Then it happens that, okay, man, I'm getting these calls, like different calls every day. How do I manage it? So, I call and they ask me, do you know this? I will say yes. They were like, okay, we'll get back to you. Let's get to the company and all of that. So from that moment, what I started doing is, if they call me and they ask me, do I know this? I'll write it down. Then that's going to be my focus of concentration. Like, I will go learn about, how to do migration, how to do this, how to do that. So I started putting those points one after the other, because everybody calls you with a different idea. So I was doing that and I was learning as well, going through the classes and everything. So it got to the point where, I was like, hey, okay, I'm ready to write my certification. We did everything and boom, I passed my certification. I was like, good, I'm into it. So now I started applying for the jobs. At this point, when I got my certification, at this point, the job was no longer like coming. And if I search on the job, it's going to be, you have to have Devops, you have to know Python, you have to know this. I was like, no, man, that means it's really big. So where do I need to focus on, or how do I go from there? So this is how it works for me. So I went back to all my classes again, and I picked interest on VPC. That's our virtual cloud. So I picked interest on VPC. I was like, okay, this is security. So because most of the time, and during the interview process, if they ask me a question, yeah, sometimes if they ask me a question, I quickly try to browse with my phone and, get the answer. And if I get the answer, I use like the big words. And I remember then Nama will always tell us, hey, don't use any big words that you cannot defend. Because once you use those big words, the interview is going to keep asking you questions. Because if they ask you, what is VPC? You just said, virtual cloud. You don't have no follow-up. Then they will start asking you questions. So, yeah, I applied to more than, God knows, more than like 500, 500 different companies. I was just applying, not knowing what will come. I was just applying. So, but now as I was applying to those different companies, I now realized that, okay, maybe I needed to just con my focus and put it on one particular place. If I say I'm doing EC2, let it be any job I'm applying for will be, creating EC2 instance, creating AWS, creating EC2 instance. And with that, you can now start seeing some specific job that just needed that, and that's how you don't want to just go apply and just throw it in the air like that, because different servers is going to come out. Only one person, they want you to know AWS, they want you to know GCP, they want you to know Azure. And it got to the point, I was telling one of my colleagues from Abad, like, how do we just know all these things? And this company are asking. But the truth is, if you get in the company, to get the job, how they say, to get the job or to pass the interview is the difficult part. Once you get into the job, then that's going to
Gaurav, I think you mistakenly muted Bochi.
Yeah, I didn't muted him. Sorry for that.
yeah. So what I started doing was, making my research. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Let me focus on VPC. I want to just focus on VPC. I want to learn everything that has to do with VPC. Now I was doing it on my own, and I remember like, oh no, we had the class. So I went back to my slide, to my dashboard in Thinkcloudly, and I check, just went for VPC, and I see how now we're explaining it, and breaking it down. So I was putting all this note down as if I knew this is okay. I want to just get this job. So then the interview. So I applied for several jobs. They keep calling me, but I will not get it. Apply for Bowen, apply for different kind of Apple and all of that. They did not call me. So I applied for Amazon. Then Amazon called me. The first one I applied for was their cloud architecture. So they called me. They set me an interview. Again, because I applied for so many. So this is one thing we have to know as well. As we're applying for job, we should always, take down note of jobs we apply for, because sometimes they might be popping up on our system and we don't even know what we're applying for. If they call you, you can't even, defend yourself or ask them what they needed. So I applied for Amazon, and, the interview, I set up the interview, and the lady called me and she asked me, oh, so, she just did the introduction and like, okay, so what is my goal? I was like, I don't understand. What do you mean, what is my goal? I was just saying it in my head. She was like, what do I want to be? In my long run, what do I want to be? Why did I choose AWS? Again, I was just thinking she was just like a recruiter, just trying to, know if I know stuff. I was like, oh, I choose AWS because it's my, the first, like AWS is like 90% of everybody's migrating into AWS cloud and all of that. She was like, okay, she now asked, why not Google or Azure? I was like, yeah, AWS is just my first point that I started up. At the end of that's where I started from. So it's kind of like a stepping stone for me. Then she just stopped me there. She was like, no company is going to want me to use them as a stepping stone to go into other company. Then that was when I now realized like, hey, this person is not ordinary. So I now checked back my email and now see that the email was actually coming from Amazon. Her name, then Amazon.com. I was like, wow, man, I just messed that up. So there was no way I could revive that part. Then that opportunity just lost. So I now like, okay, this is anytime I apply for any of these jobs, I had to put it down. So I applied again for Amazon. Then I got called. So this one I was really prepared. So I was really prepared. I started and I was prepared. Everything was set in my office and I was ready to do the interview. I've never done Amazon interview before, and it was going to be a 6 hours interview. You can imagine 6 hours interview. They just broke it down, but they did not tell me which part comes first, which part comes first. So the first part that came was, customer success and all of that. Man, I was never expecting that kind of interview. I was like, okay, it was asking me how, if a customer did this, how do I do that? I was like, man, I was thinking this is going to be about cloud and all of that. So I did that interview for 2 hours. I know I failed that interview. Then the next interview was technical interview, because I was discouraged for the first interview I did as customer management and all of that. I just bumped that, that interview. I was like, I could not, at the end of the day, I did not get that job. But see, again, I did not give up. Now I now know the scope on how to do it and how they do it. So I applied again for another Amazon position. And I now know the process of it. So I ran through the process, did everything. They were like, okay, they're going to get back to me. So on that same day, just to cut the long story short, on that same day I did Amazon interview, I had my present company, Samsung. I had an interview with them. So remember, like I said, focus on one particular thing. If you know your words, just hold on to it. So now with the idea I had, because I've now been doing interviews, with the idea I had was, if you are answering any question, if they ask you which school are you going to or which platform are you using, Thinkcloudly. Now Thinkcloudly, start telling them the generation of how Thinkcloudly was formed. We introduced Thinkcloudly, everything about Thinkcloudly, so that if they ask about Thinkcloudly, because the next thing they will ask about Thinkcloudly is going to be what is your course schedule or something like that. If you give them, if you did not break this thing well for them, they will keep asking you questions. So try to kill like 5 minutes for one question. So I had my interview with like 6 managers in the office, and I was like, oh my God. They asked me the first question, tell us about you. You have to have this conk, or we have to coin this note about, because this is always the first question they tell you, like, tell me about you, introduce yourself. Now go from your previous or any solution, anything you've done, start telling them about those things. Kill enough time so that they don't have any reason, touch all the point. Because I applied for a security, cloud security and vulnerability management. Now they ask me, okay, tell me about this. I've never done anything like that before. But the moment I decided to, like, okay, I want to go into security, I learned everything about VPC, starting from Thinkcloudly platform, and from there I was, oh, this is subnet, this is route, this is route table, this is this. I'll start learning all those points one after the other. So everything that has to do with the VPC. So when they ask me, tell me about you, I started talking, formulating stuff in my head, projects in my head that I've not done before.
Yeah,
Going from
would you just to tell you, like, you have like 2 more minutes left, okay? Yeah.
yeah. So going from stuff that I've not done before, I was just formulating all those stuff, and I was just like, telling them and killing the time. So if the interview was for an hour, 30 minutes, but at the end of the day, they only asked me like 4 questions. Reason because I used like 20 minutes in explaining just one about VPC. So I started doing like, so at the end of the day, like, they don't have any question to ask me, because I've really touched everything that they needed to ask me. So in this sense, what am I trying to pass through is,
When you bring socks for me.
we needed to start from somewhere, and that somewhere that we needed to start from was Thinkcloudly, and that was how they helped me, they groomed me. I keep watching my videos. If I remember something, I go back to my videos and watch, and just keep watching. And I'm grateful that I met Nama, and he was able to, like, he checks on me all the time, like, hey, what's good? How is it going? His Thinkcloudly right now to me is a family and a friend, where you can always turn to at any time. You have issues, you want to call Nama, you want to always ask questions, and again, don't give up, keep pushing, keep applying, but try to focus on, don't go scattered. Just try to focus on, if it's AWS that we are in, do everything that has to do with AWS, know it, Terraform, just go like that. Don't just let's not just go scattered, because if at the end of the day, so many questions will be coming from different places, and when we are not concentrated on one, that is going to affect our journey. But again, I got the job, like, it's mouth watering. They were giving me the offers. I was just smiling. I could not hold it. I was like, this is a testimony. So at the end of the day, I got the Amazon position, and now I'm going to be be running the 2 show. By next month. So yeah, this is my journey, and I'm grateful to Thinkcloudly. I'm grateful to Nama, and I'm grateful to my team and my colleagues. So thank you very much, and let's keep it going and enjoy the class, enjoy the journey. It's all worth it. There's no end time that we need to stop learning. Like me, I've enrolled again with Thinkcloudly for Terraform. Keep doing it, keep enrolling, new program coming, keep enrolling, and just let your journey go like that, because it's a platform that is here to stay, and it's going to help so many of us. So thank you very much, guys, and I wish you guys all the best. Your testimony will also come as well, so waiting for that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Buchi. Thank you so much. I think, Buchi, we can relate it, and the people who knows Terraform. So it is like this job in it. You initialize applying jobs. Thinking about job, then you job plan and job apply. So it goes like that. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Buchi, for coming here and sharing your journey with our students. This is really important. I'm telling you guys, if someone motivates you, that's something which is important. You know what, there are hundred of people out there who demotivates you every day, but if one person motivates you, it really matters. So don't let your motivation go down. Just feel that you can do it, and that's the same spirit students who have got the job they had, and the same spirit even Buchi had. And that's why Buchi could able to make it. He's the real example in front of us. And I know that many of you are going to become a very good example in future, in coming future, that you're going to become our testimonial for other students, and you will be motivating our other students, rest of the students. So I really appreciate Buchi for coming here and telling us about you and your journey. Thank you. Okay, so now let's move to other part of our webinar, which is really important. Without killing more time, I don't want to kill a lot of time for everyone, because I know that you guys have it's Saturday and you guys would like to enjoy with your family. So now I would like to tell you about some of the very good examples first, before I actually go and talk about the difference between AWS and Azure. I want to tell you like what these clouds are doing to our world. When we look at the cloud, it might be just a job for us, that we have to get a job in cloud, and we have to work as cloud engineer, cloud architect. That is just job to us. But if you look at the bigger community, if you look at the world, then cloud is actually doing a real magic for a lot of other communities. Let's say NASA. It's actually one of the very big organization in US. You all know about it. And NASA is using AWS, AWS platform, and it's actually making a huge repository of pictures, videos, which it captures every day in by satellites. All the images, videos are captured and kept at a centralized location in S3 bucket. So S3, it's a storage space where you keep a lot of data. You can keep a lot of data. So NASA is leveraging AWS for keeping so many files, pictures, videos, audio files. It's actually going bigger and bigger every day. That is one example. NGO, there is a very famous NGO. You will be surprised to know this story, that non-profit organization, they basically, they are using AWS. And what are they doing with it? They have actually created a early warning system which alerts about 400,000 people in Cambodia when flood threatens. Can you imagine? Like, with the help of cloud, you know, now the organizations have started saving lives. The people who are in real need, we are able to save lives just because of cloud. So cloud is actually over there. And there's an organization which is using Microsoft Azure, and there's an organization, Nelco Water. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. They have collaborated with Ecolab, and they are using Microsoft Azure, and they are doing some advanced analytics, cloud computing. And with that, they created a solution to reuse and recycle the water. So you can see that how cloud is actually making an impact. It is not just our job, our focus. I know that it is our goal to get a job, but cloud is actually doing something in real, and that's why there is a lot of opportunities right now, and even in future there are so many opportunities which are coming next. I was listening to one of the interview of AWS CEO, and what he said, we just started. Can you imagine? AWS is all over the place, but still they say we just started. And same, the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, he has the same thing, that we have just started. Cloud is just started. It has like, it has just boom to go. Like everyone is going to have a very good future in terms of job market. So these are some of the examples I wanted to share before I actually get into real thing of AWS and Azure. After that, after that, over here, let's understand the real services between AWS. If some of you who have already gathered knowledge on AWS, you guys can easily relate some of the services of Azure. And people who have joined us, who are going through the Azure course, they can easily relate some of the services with AWS. Now I tell you what happens in the background. The background is that it is actually a cloud computing. Okay, cloud concepts, you would say. Okay, so all these clouds, let's say GCP, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, AWS, Microsoft Azure, all these clouds are made up of the same concept. So they have the same concept in the background. Only thing what they have done, they have created their own services and started selling those services to different organizations, to different individuals. So if you tell me that, oh, Azure is actually a very different cloud, I will say no. In the background, it is actually using the same concept. So if someone actually comes to me and tell me that, hey, Naman, I would like to go for AWS and Azure course, I always say, if you know one cloud, knowing another cloud is going to be a very easy job. It's not going to be very difficult that you are attending two different courses, like separately, but it will be easier for you to understand. So always remember, it is actually cloud concepts which is in the background. And apart from that, these big organizations, these are the big fishes, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, these are big players in the market. What they have done, using these cloud concepts, they have created multiple services. So cloud concepts are actually same, but they have created multiple services and they are selling it. Okay. So now if I talk about product, so you can say these are the concepts. Okay. And these are the services they created, like Amazon has created these many services, Microsoft have created these many services, though they are doing the same job. So if we say Amazon EC2 instance, that is actually a virtual server. And in Microsoft Azure, we call it as virtual machines, which is VMs. Okay. So in Amazon Web Services, we call it as instances. And in Microsoft Azure, we call it as VMs. Though both are same. So the way you create Amazon Web Services EC2 instance, in the same way, you will be creating Microsoft Azure virtual machine. Both are same, virtual server in the cloud. Okay. So always remember, the concept is same. They have created the service and selling it. So if you know one cloud, learning another cloud will be a very easy job for you. Now, after that, we know, okay, if we want to create virtual server in Microsoft Azure, we will call it as virtual machine. Okay. Now, next thing is platform as a service. So platform as a service is actually a very bigger concept where the cloud provides the platform and we use it as a service. So in Amazon Web Services, we call it as Beanstalk, but in Microsoft Azure, we call it as cloud services. There are a lot of cloud services like web app services, a lot of services we call, which comes under cloud services. So Beanstalk, the work which Beanstalk does, can be done with cloud services of Microsoft Azure. After that, we have the serverless. Now, many of you who have actually completed the course with us on AWS, you are already aware what is serverless. So serverless means that you're not worried about your server. Cloud provider, whether it is Amazon or Microsoft, they are taking care of servers. You are worried only about your application. That is serverless. So now, if you really want a serverless service from Amazon, you will use Lambda function. If you want to use Microsoft Azure, then you will call it as Azure Functions. So both Lambda and Azure Functions, they do the same job of having a serverless architecture. So if you want to create a serverless architecture, in case of Amazon Web Services, you will involve Lambda. In case of Microsoft Azure, you will call it as Azure Functions. So next time when you go in the interview and interviewer by mistake ask you that how will you do serverless architecture in Microsoft Azure, you will say, I will use Azure Functions. Now don't go don't go in depth if you don't know it, but you can still showcase your knowledge that though I don't have the deep knowledge in Azure, but I know how it works because you already have knowledge about AWS. And the vice versa with someone who knows Azure but doesn't know AWS. If you know services, you can talk about it. Okay. Docker management. I'm not sure how many of you is aware about Docker management, but it is actually to have a microservice-based architecture. So Docker and Kubernetes are used for microservice-based architecture. For Docker, we use ECS, Elastic Container Service in AWS. And in Microsoft Azure, we call it container service. So ECS, Elastic Container Service in AWS, and Microsoft Azure, we call it as container service, Microsoft Azure Container Service. And the same goes over here, EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, and Kubernetes Service. Now, how do we store a lot of data in AWS? With the help of S3. A lot of people might be aware about it. And even the people who come from an Azure background, you might know that blob can store a lot of data. Okay. So S3 and blob are considered to be the data lake where you can store like a lot of amount of data, lot of amount of petabyte of data, or exabyte of data, which is like thousands of GBs, or you can say a lot of GBs of data you can store and dump into S3 or blob. So in Azure, we have a service called blob, and in AWS, we have a service that is called as S3. They have the same purpose. Okay. They have the same purpose, and you can just dump your data. Now, archiving storage. Now, you know what? There are a lot of files. There are a lot of files which are used very infrequently. We might not even use it in future. Okay. So we tend to archive those files. So let's say that you're working for an organization, and while you're working for that organization, you realized that this particular file might not be used, or this particular data, we might not use it, but for a safer side, we want to keep it for future. So that is why if we are using AWS, we can use Glacier service for archiving storage. And if you're using Azure, then you can go for Azure Archive Storage. So we call it as archive storage. So if you can see, Microsoft Azure has kept very simple names, and AWS has kept little tricky name. If you look at like virtual server is known as virtual machines, cloud services, Azure Functions, container service, Docker service. So they have kept a very, very simple name to remember. But at the same time, AWS names are a bit tricky to remember. They have actually, added this Elastic a lot, and they are using the services name. But in Microsoft Azure, they kept a very, very normal and very easy to remember names of their services. File storage. So I'm not sure how many of you knows this, but if let's say there are multiple servers, okay, let's say that there are multiple servers, and these servers would like to share a common place. Okay, let's say this is server 1 and this is server 2, and they want a common drive to share everything. Then you use file storage service. So in AWS, that file storage service is known as EFS, Elastic File Service. And in Microsoft Azure, you call it as Azure Files. Now, after that, global content delivery. Global content delivery is also a very important concept, which most of the organization, they use it. So in global content delivery, what happens that, let's imagine this is the world map. Okay. So over here, let's imagine this is United States, this is India, and this is Africa. Now, you want to keep the data, or you want to keep the website close to your audience. If your audience are here, then you would like to keep your application over here so that they can access it. If you keep your website here and your audience are here, then it will take longer time for your audience to reach your application. So with the help of global content delivery, what you can do, you can spread your application across the globe, or you can spread the data across the globe. So what will happen? The user who is coming from Africa, he will access Africa server. The user who is coming from India, he will access Indian server. And the user who is coming from US, he will access US server. So what will happen? Users, they do not need to send a request very far. They can send to a closer server to get the quick response. And that is possible with the help of global content delivery. The website, when you open amazon.com, it opens up very quick. So if I am in India, Indian server will be sending the response to me. If you are in US and you open it, US server is going to send the response to you. So global content delivery is very important for many websites, whether it is Facebook, Netflix, every other organization which is enterprise. They always use global content delivery. And if you want to enable global content delivery for your project, that is done with the help of CloudFront. And in Microsoft Azure, you do it with the help of delivery network. After that, now it's all about data and application. Okay, so when we talk about database, if it is data warehouse means a big place where you can keep a lot of data. In S3, you keep a lot of files. But what if you want to keep a lot of data? There is a difference between files and data. File means it can be image, it can be, it can be video file, it can be audio file. But when we say data, data is just your name. Name is your data. Name is not your file, right? Your phone number is data. Your email address is the data. So there's a difference between data and files. Always remember, it looks same, that files also contain data, but files and data are not same. So S3 and blob, which is object storage, they store files, which means video, audio, and you can say text files. But when we say data warehouse, it contains data. Okay, it talks about only data. So always remember, if you want to create a data warehouse, then you can use RDS, which is the relational database service, or you can use Redshift, which is again another data warehouse. Azure also has a data warehouse, which is SQL warehouse. So over here, we went through this complete list of services. The idea was to explain you that every cloud offers same type of concept, but with a different name. If you understand this, it will be easier and quicker for you to learn any cloud anytime. If I start adding GCP over here, which is Google Cloud, you can learn that cloud within no time. So this is about the AWS and Azure, different services which are offered by both the providers. So AWS and Azure are actually cloud providers, okay, which are made up of different cloud concepts. Now, we will quickly look at the pricing. I just want to quickly look at the pricing over here. So if you look at the pricing, let's imagine this is actually a virtual server pricing. Okay, if you want to create a virtual server in AWS, or you want to create virtual server in Azure. So if you look at the pricing, that if you are looking for a server which has two core processor, 8 GB RAM, it will cost you, in Azure, it will cost you 62 cents. And in Azure, in AWS, it will cost you 66 cents. So if you look at the entire graph, table over here, you will find that AWS is a bit more expensive as compared to Azure. You can see this over here. You can see slightly expensive, not very expensive, but slightly expensive. But it is just a 1 hour price. So if it is 66 cents, it is just 1 hour price. If you multiply by 100, right, then it's gonna make a difference. Right now, it looks very small. It might be 2 cent difference or 20 cents difference. But if you multiply by 100 hours, or maybe in a month, 750 hours, it's going to create a lot of difference. So that's why AWS is considered to be a bit pricey as compared to Azure. So if in case anyone asks you, like, from a cost perspective, which cloud has a lesser cost, then Azure is considered to be on a positive side, that Azure has a lesser cost as per AWS. Now, you must be wondering that, Naman, when AWS is expensive as compared to Azure, then why the market goes towards AWS? So it is all about trust. Okay, Big enterprise, they don't look for the price. They don't care because they have a lot of money. They just trust. Some organization, they trust Microsoft, so they go with Azure. Some organization, they trust AWS, so they go with AWS. Maybe startups or small organizations, they look at prices, but the bigger organizations and medium-sized organizations, they don't look at the price. They look at the quality of service, the market value, the trust. These are the important factors they look at. And also solution compatibility, which I'm going to come back very soon on that topic. When we will discuss about the conclusion, I'll talk about that solution compatibility. But right now, it is on the basis of prices. Medium-sized organization and large-size organization, they don't look at the price. But small-size organization and the startups, they look at the price and they compare and they go by the price. So that is why Azure is more popular, like in the startups and small organizations as compared to AWS because of the price. But just don't think that it is just 44 cents difference. But when you multiply it with number of hours in a year, you will realize that it'll basically cost you maybe $100 or $1,000 difference, which is huge. After that, coming to the market share, this is something which everyone should know. Okay, so AWS was actually one of the oldest cloud. Okay, it is actually started somewhere around 2006 or 2008. Like, I mean, not, I think so. Like somewhere at that point of time, it has started. And it has a story that why it has started. So AWS was started because Amazon used to be a e-commerce website. They used to have a lot of servers with them, and during the whole year, they used to have a lot of servers. But from 25th of December to 1st of January, they used to use, like, let's say 100 servers, and rest of the year they used to use only 30 servers. Because it's a festive season, so from 25th of December to 1st of January, they used to use additional 70 servers, and those 70 servers used to sit idle throughout the rest of the year. Then what they got an idea that let's start rent out these machines to other organization rest of the year, so that the machines which are sitting idle, they can make money out of it. The AWS has started from that idea that the machines which are sitting idle, let's start renting out to entire world. And they started it. So that's how the AWS has started. So they started renting out machines, and that's how the cloud started forming up. And today, AWS is one of the oldest cloud. It has 49.5% of the market where the application workloads are installed and running. So applications, you see, Netflix, Apple applications, different applications are running on AWS, and even Azure holds 15% of the market. So AWS stands on first, and in terms of market share, and Azure stands on second, and Google stands on third with 7% of the market. Now, coming to the conclusion directly. Now you would be wondering that, Naman, you are talking about prices. So in terms of prices, Azure wins, and in terms of market share, AWS wins. Which one is better? You must be having this question, and I truly expect this question from all of you. So again, there are a lot of factors on which it depends that which cloud you need to focus on. So when you're working for an organization, definitely you will look at the price, you will look at the trust, and you will look at the solution compatibility. So I want to explain this part. When I say solution compatibility, guys, always remember that there will be an application and or data which you want to move or migrate to cloud. So let's say you want to migrate application from your own server to Azure or to AWS. You have to look at the application and understand it. If your application is open source, is made up of open source tools, okay? If your application is made up of open source tools, then you go with AWS. Don't look at the pricing, don't look at the trust. That is a solution compatibility, that your application is actually a solution. So your solution is compatible with open source. It is made up of open source technology, then go with AWS. If your application is made up of enterprise technology or maybe Microsoft technology, then Azure fits the best. Let's say that you are using .NET. .NET is Microsoft language framework. If you're at the other end, there is a Node.js framework, then you go with AWS. So that's what we have found as per my experience, that if your solution is open source, choose AWS. If your solution or application is enterprise based like Microsoft or different enterprises, then go with Azure. That's the best thing which we can always choose cloud, Azure or AWS. Now, coming from a market perspective, that job market perspective, that hey Naman, I am coming from a non-IT background. Should I choose AWS or Azure? This question I hear from a lot of new students who join us, that which one I should go and choose. I would say its job market for Azure and AWS is pretty same. There is not a very big difference. If you are new, you can get into any one of the cloud, but you have to follow the proper route. It means if you are starting your journey with Azure, first you will go with Azure fundamentals, then you will go for Azure admin, and then you go for Azure architect. So this is the journey you have to follow in order to make sure that you are, you want to succeed in Azure, and then you can go for Azure DevOps. But in case you want to go with AWS, then you have to start with AWS Solution Architect Associate, then you go towards Solution Architect Professional, or you go towards AWS DevOps. So or maybe DevOps like Jenkins, Terraform. These are very important technology you can always choose. So what I would suggest you is that if you are choosing the Azure route, stick to Azure fundamentals, Azure administrator, Azure architect, and after that Azure DevOps. So this is the route which is normally followed by an individual who wants to get their career into Azure. But when you want to get into AWS, okay, AWS starts with AWS Solution Architect. After that, you get into DevOps. Okay, DevOps offers Jenkins, Terraform, Kubernetes, Docker, and Ansible. So you go in that route. So these are two separate routes. So for Azure, I repeat, first step is Azure fundamental. Second step is to go for Azure administrator. Third step is to go for Azure architect. And after that, you go for Azure DevOps. This is how you upskill yourself in Azure. Now, when you talk about AWS, you start your journey with AWS Solution Architect, and then you go into DevOps. DevOps consists of multiple different courses: Terraform, Jenkins, Linux, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes. These are the courses you have to follow. If you do this, that you know Azure fundamental and then you try to get into Jenkins, that won't help you. I'm telling you, that won't help you. These two clouds have their own route to be followed. If you try to jump into like from administrator, you come into Jenkins, that might not help you. You should follow Azure route and create your resume Azure friendly. If you are getting into AWS, create your resume DevOps friendly. This is what you have to do. Always remember, your last goal is to become Azure DevOps engineer or DevOps engineer here if you follow AWS. But knowing the cloud is very important. If you really want to get into DevOps, knowing the cloud is very important. People who get into DevOps directly, they actually make a mistake. They don't understand a lot of things. So the way we do, right, we go to school first, and then we go for graduation and bachelor's in graduation, and then after that we go for master's, and then we go for PhD. This is the route we follow. Every time you should follow the same route. If you are choosing Azure, go for Azure fundamental, Azure administrator, Azure architect, and Azure DevOps. If you follow AWS route, AWS solution architect, DevOps, this is what you need to follow. So this is what I wanted to share to all of you, so that you guys can take decision better, that which should be your next step. There will be 100 of people who will be talking differently, but trust me guys, honestly speaking, this is the route everyone should follow. If you try to dissect, if you try to get into multiple things, you will be lost and you will be nowhere. Coming to the conclusion, okay, last conclusion which I want to talk to every one of you, that AWS is considered like, who should prefer AWS and who should prefer Azure. So AWS is actually for IT specialist, okay, which is like, or non-IT specialist. You can say non-IT is for Azure and AWS both. So if someone is coming from non-IT background, can step into any one of them. But it provides a lot of power, flexibility, freedom, customization freedom, and third-party connections, which is the open source connections. But Azure is easy to use because it follows all the Microsoft products and it fits with Microsoft products like Microsoft Windows, or you can say, you know, .NET framework, which is again provided by Microsoft. So if the solution is provided by Microsoft, stick to Azure. If it is open source, stick to AWS. That's what I would say everyone at last. So this was it, guys. After that, we will come to the question and answers session in just 2 minutes, so that we will open up the ground for everyone to ask questions. Quickly, I want to express like what we offer as per our services. We offer different programs: ServiceNow, Scrum Master, Google Cloud, Devops, Azure, AWS, project management, and business analysts. All these programs we offer to all the students. If you want to make your career into IT, into IT technical or IT management, we offer different courses and different certification programs. You can always do live projects with us, and you can also go for the certification assistant, resume preparation. If any one of you would like to improve your LinkedIn profile, we have the experts to do that as well. If anyone wants interview preparation, you have your interview after a few days and you would like to get some interviews, mock interviews, get in touch with us. We can help you with that as well. And if you have already started working and you need some support, we will be providing that support to you. So we offer multiple courses. Our quality of service for each and every course remain the same, whether it is AWS, Azure, ServiceNow, Scrum Master. All the courses have same quality of service we offer to our students. It's a family. We believe that student is our part of our family. Also, make sure, guys, you refer and earn. We are running a very good referral credit. Refer your friend as much as you can. This is something which you can help us, and we will make sure that you get the referral bonus of 75 to 100 USD, so that you are also happy and we are also happy. But that is something which you can help us to spread our network, that we really want to help people. Just refer your friend as much as you can. This is just our humble request from entire team of Thinkcloudly. After that, yeah, now we are open for the questions. Like if any one of you would like to ask question about AWS or Azure or anything, you can ask. The floor is for you. So you can raise your hand or you can type in the chat so that we can work on it. Okay, I see one question from Jitesh. Why companies move most probably to Azure for DevOps and not AWS? No, it is not true at all, Jitesh, that companies go for Azure, not for AWS. Azure has its own DevOps platform. AWS has its own DevOps platform. But we rely, I mean, it depends. Again, that's what I was telling you. If your application supports Microsoft platform, then the organization, they prefer to go towards Azure because Azure is from Microsoft and their solution is in Microsoft. So that has a high compatibility. But when you talk about AWS, when you talk about something which is open source like Node.js, Python, then you go towards AWS. So it is not dependent, your DevOps is not dependent on Azure or AWS. It totally depends on the solution on which company is working on. So if your solution is inclined toward Microsoft technologies, then you go towards Azure and the companies go towards Azure. If your solution inclined on open source, then they prefer AWS. Does that answer your question, Jitesh? Okay. Okay. So next question is from Rafsun. Rafsun, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So most of the employer looks for 5 years of experience in IT. What if someone who don't have it, how Thinkcloudly can help us on it? So Rafsan, you can connect with me or separately. I can help you in that process. So basically what happens that definitely employer is always looking for high experience. And how will you build it? Thinkcloudly provides multiple live projects. When you work on a live projects, you gain that experience, which you can always showcase to your interviewer. And you can tell them that you have worked on live projects and you have the working experience. And that's what has been done by a lot of our other students who have already started working in IT. So that's the one way of dealing with it. Second way is just to make sure that your resume should have all the important projects mentioned so that recruiter gives you a call. And it's not true that employer is always looking for 5 years. Employers all is okay to have you with 3 years of experience as well, 4 years of experience as well, 7 years of experience as well. But it doesn't start from 5 years, but it starts from 3 years. So if you still showcase 3 years of experience in your resume, you'll be still good. Does that make sense, Rafsan?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafsan. Yeah, you can connect with me if you have any other doubt. I'll be happy to answer it. Yeah, anyone else would like to ask any question so that I can answer it?
Sorry, Naman.
Hi, Olusola.
Yeah. The main question is the clarification between the Azure and the AWS, because I'm beginning to look at the Azure right now because of my job. I think they are working towards Azure, so I was doing some self-study and I discovered there are a little bit similarities in it. But like you mentioned, before going from fundamental, can you start from the administrator or no? Or
No.
you have to follow the trend?
No, you have to follow. Olusola, administrator talks more about the troubleshooting part of it. Okay, that how you're going to troubleshoot it. But until and unless you understand the fundamentals, it's not easy thing to do. Okay, so
Okay.
you can start jumping onto administrator directly, but it might not help you. Start with fundamentals.
Okay.
And to be honest, that is not the case with AWS. In AWS, you can start with
Yeah, I know.
directly. But in Azure, you have to start with fundamentals because fundamentals covers a lot of different services and it gives you a very good clarity. And then you move towards administrator. Yeah. Okay. So Modest has another question. Would you suggest AWS DevOps or AWS cloud security? Very good question, Modest. I was expecting this question from one of you. So Modest is asking a very, very good question that, Naman, like once we have completed AWS solution architect, should we go towards cloud security, which is AWS security, or should we go towards DevOps? Okay. If someone says, I was talking to Jitesh other day and I was telling him that going for AWS DevOps doesn't help. So AWS DevOps is something which I have not seen the market booming up, and AWS DevOps is not very helpful in the market to get the job. Okay. If you would like to set your career and if you really want to open a lot of opportunities for you, instead of going for AWS DevOps, you should go for DevOps. But coming to your question again, which is cloud security or DevOps. So AWS solution architect depends on your interest, that whether you want to get into security, you are a guy who love to get into security part of it, where you can save the application, save the data from hacking, then you go towards cloud security, and or else you go towards DevOps, which is Jenkins, Terraform, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, that is DevOps. But I tell you one thing, cloud security is a easier path. Okay. And DevOps is a difficult part. Okay. To learn DevOps, it's not very easy. Okay. So you would be saying that, Naman, if it's cloud security is easier, then why not everyone go into cloud security? Because cloud security has a smaller market as compared to DevOps market. Okay. So you have like plenty of job opportunities in DevOps market, though it is difficult, but it has plenty of job opportunities. But in case of cloud security, the market is small, though it is easier to, though you will gain a lot of knowledge, but still, so you have to understand, you want to go into competitive market or you want to go into wider market. Though the journey of DevOps is difficult and it might take 4 to 5 months of time at least to become a good DevOps engineer. So you have to make sure for cloud security, it might take only 2 months of time. But for DevOps, it might take 4 to 5 months of time to be a good cloud or DevOps engineer. So you have to understand that, and that decision goes to you. If you really want to get into a market which is smaller, but you think that cloud security is your story, then you can get into it. Yeah. I hope I could able to answer your question. Yeah. So any other question? Rafsun, you wanted to ask, you can type
Yes.
it. Yeah, okay, you can speak. Yeah.
So the question that I have for you, that if I want to be a solution architect at AWS, I mean, it is mandatory to learn any programming language, and if I need to learn any programming language, then what should I learn?
Okay. So guys, this is again a very good question. Like a lot of students have this question, and even I see a question from Benjamin as well. So guys, for solution architect, remember one thing: for solution architect, industry, if you look at the cloud architect, industry doesn't demand any programming language. You know, it is not mandatory to know have any programming language. But if you see the job description, you will see two languages. One is Python and Linux. Linux is a scripting language, and Python is actual programming language. So now you can opt, if you are learning solution architect, you can go either for Python language or Linux language, any one of the language. But it totally depends on you that which language you want to go for. Linux is easier to learn and deal with because it's just a scripting language, but Python is actually used for a bigger purpose sometimes. Okay, it has like Django framework, it has a lot of other things which Python has. So Python is like, again, it will take like 3 to 4 months to actually learn Python, but in Linux it will take, I think, 1 month or 1.5 months to learn Linux. But with solution architect, anyone can go. It is not mandatory that you need to know Python or you need to know Java. A lot of job description will mention that you need to know Python or any other programming language. That's okay. I mean, when you go in the interview, they don't even ask you about Python programming. They don't even ask you. They just want to know a lot of about solutions, about different services of AWS, about different solutions, that how can you make your solution robust or high performing solution. So they never even ask you about Python. I think there are 20% interview. Maybe they might ask you about Python or Linux, about any programming language. But when you really go in the interview, they might not even ask you about any programming language. So don't worry about it. If you are really preparing for solution architect, learning Python or Linux is not your priority. Your priority is to focus on solution architect. Simultaneously, if you have some time and if you are interested, then you can go for any one of the language. So, but that is not mandatory. Always remember, guys, when you look at the job description while applying for the job, don't get worried that, oh, this demands a lot of things, but I know only 2 of them. They are asking about 5 things, but I know 2. Doesn't matter. Just go in the interview. They might in your job description, they are asking about 5 things, but for the real project, they need only 2 things. And you know those 2 things, you will get the job. So don't get scared. Don't get scared after looking at the job description. If you think it is about cloud architect, apply. Just don't worry about Python and Java, because Bucci, you know, example of Bucci and Alex, the people who have recently gotten the job, they didn't know any language, but they could able to secure the job as cloud architect. So they are the real examples. So that is why in job description, see, job description is always prepared by HRs, recruiters, but actual interview is always taken by project people. So the recruiter picks up a generic job description. So you just need to look at the description, and if you know 50% of it or 40% of it, apply for the job. Don't worry. You don't know who will be your interviewer. It's all about right time. So this is my experience, and this is what I have seen from other students as well. Yeah. I hope I could able to answer your question, Rafsan. Okay. Another question which Benjamin has: to learn DevOps, do you need to be a programmer? Benjamin, no, you don't need to be a programmer to be a DevOps engineer. While you will be part of our DevOps program, we will be helping you to learn whichever programming language you want to learn. So if you talk about Jenkins, it has its own declarative language. If you talk about Terraform, it has its own Terraform scripting. Okay, so so we will be, I mean, that is part of the program itself. You don't need to be a programmer at all. It's all about concept, and yes, it requires programming, but it is not a very difficult programming which no one can learn. Is that okay, Jitesh, Benjamin, Refson, if I could able to answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so the offer has been expired, guys. 60 minutes offer has been expired. Like it was valid for only 60 minutes. So the people who have sent your request to us, like we'll look into it. We have got some requests. We'll look into it and we'll certainly work on it and make sure we'll reach out to you guys. Okay, so Akintayo is asking, can one secure a job with AWS Cloud Practitioner? No, not at all, Akintayo. You cannot get a job with AWS Cloud Practitioner. You need to have AWS Solution Architect. That is the basic requirement of AWS job market right now. Okay, thank you everyone for coming to our session. I really appreciate again your time. I hope you liked our session, the way we conducted it. And if you have any doubt, any question you would like to drop us, feel free to drop us and be in touch with us. We'll be happy to help you out, every one of you. Okay, thank you everyone. You can drop your feedback on WhatsApp, on Zoom chat, if you have any feedback for us, like so that we can work on it. Yeah. Thank you, Rafsun. Thank you everyone.